Welcome to another episode of Decogged podcast. Today we sort of, if you can notice, we sort of changed
scenery.
Yeah, changed scenery. Yeah.
Changed our Zoom background.
Yeah,
as you notice.
Yeah, it's all pure white background. It's actually my house, which is like, what, 2 minutes down from your house? So
It's pretty much next door. Nice.
Yeah, so basically we changed location today just to try it out.
Yeah.
To see how it feels like.
Change the vibes, you know.
Exactly.
Change the ting, man. Change the ting, you know.
Yeah. Do you say change them tangs?
No, change the ting, you know.
Oh yeah.
I've been watching Top Boy, so.
Oh, dude, I need to watch that.
Yeah. It's like a really good show, actually.
Yeah. But
I haven't seen the original because there's like one that they made like a long time ago in the early 2000s, I think.
Yeah, isn't there also a Korean
There's a Korean
movie
Top Boy
called Top Boy?
No, that's called Old Boy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whoops. That's terrible.
That's a really good movie too. But that's arguably one of the best Korean movies, I think.
Oh, really?
I think it's one of the movies that people look at and kind of say like, oh, that's why Korean cinema is like so innovative, you know.
Because of that.
Yeah, that's one of the films that I think people reference. There's that. There's like, what's the recent one? Oh man, I forget. It's the
TV show or
no? It's a movie. Oh, I forgot what it was called.
Train to Busan.
That was good too. But,
but it wasn't changed like.
No, there's the one that won like a bunch of. I think it won the Oscar. I think
the one where they're in the starts
basement.
Killing every.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I forgot.
I can't believe I forgot.
But it's the same. I think it's the same director as Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of that. I'm sure it will pop up.
Yeah,
pop up in the middle of the conversation.
Yeah.
But since we're talking about film, today's topic we're actually going to talk about is, I guess, the Oscar animation list.
Yeah.
You know,
the Oscar animation category.
Yeah.
Animation in general in the eyes of the film industry.
Yeah, it was very interesting because Phil Lord posted something on Twitter, and I think this got us like, I guess, talking a bit more about it.
Yeah.
Or at least it was always in the back of our minds, but we sort of accepted.
Yeah. That's
just the way things are. But
it's funny because I think I noticed the same conversation that comes up every single year when the Oscars is around. Mm-hmm. It's always about animation or visual effects, and it's always the same topic. How animation doesn't really have its own category.
Exactly.
You know? I mean, it has its own category, but it doesn't have. It's like everything is shoehorned into one category, as opposed to the rest of the other departments, I guess, if you will. In terms of the film industry itself, you have one for editing, you got one for sound, music. You have one for so many different areas. Like makeup has one. Yeah. Costume has one. Yeah. But like animated features, the entire thing is just one category. Yeah. But what about like the animators? What about the lighters? What about there's so many different departments that go into making an animated feature. Yeah. And some would argue maybe it's even more work than some of the other on-set people.
Yeah. I mean, of course, like, I'm biased. I guess both of us would be biased. I mean, of course, like, I think there should be its own category, right?
I think there should be more categories.
More categories, sorry.
For animation. Yeah. But at the same time, this is a bigger conversation even. And that's the one that Phil Lord. So, like, he tweeted out. And we can show the tweet now because it's quite triggering for a lot of animators. Yeah. As in, like, triggering as in they feel the same as Phil Lord does. Yeah. So the tweet is super cool to position animation as something that kids watch and adults have to endure. Yeah.
I mean, that's very that's always been something that's as an animator, that's always been in the back of my mind, where it's like I always felt like there's this feeling of that where
it's always for kids.
Yeah, it's always for kids. And even when I tell my friends that are non-animators or not in the industry, it's almost like if I tell them, oh yeah, I worked on Lego Batman, they'll be like, like, you know, I'm not gonna really watch that. Like, I mean, some of them do, but of course not all. And they But if I tell them if I worked on some visual effects movie, like for example, if I said, "Oh, I worked on Spider-Man, like Far From Home or something," they'll be like, "Oh, really? Oh, that's so cool." Blah 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 blah. But they don't classify that as animation.
Yeah,
You get what I
even
mean?
though it's the same,
yeah.
like in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah,
Like, it's
yeah.
the same people a lot of the times,
Yeah.
and the same tools, the same techniques. I
Yeah.
mean, not the same. I don't want to,
Generalize.
generalize
Yeah, yeah.
so much, but it's very similar, right? Like you
Yeah.
like you use the same tools and techniques that you use to make animated films as you
Yeah.
would to do visual effects. Obviously, there's like nuances in that,
Yeah.
but generally speaking, it's the same talent, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like there's almost like, and Phil Lord kind of put it, like nailed it, right? Like he's almost saying like, this is what Hollywood and maybe even society at large thinks about animation.
Yeah.
Like in terms of animated features.
Yeah.
They think it's for kids, and nobody takes it seriously for like as an adult medium.
Yeah.
Of course, when I say nobody, I'm generalizing again, but
Yeah.
like there's things like there's movies like Pixar movies, and one can argue that that's not strictly for kids. Like a lot
Yeah.
of Pixar films are very mature,
Yeah.
deal with very mature themes. It's just told through something that visually that appeal to kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the depth of the storytelling and the character building and all that sort of stuff it's like Up, for example, is a great example.
Yeah.
Like that's a film that it's not just for kids, that's 100% for adults too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like, and I think this tweet was spawned from something that somebody said during the presentation.
Yeah.
When they were presenting the award. I don't want to misquote, but
Well, I mean, that's okay. So I agree with this message first. I agree with this tweet. I totally, completely agree. But from what I gathered, he tweeted this because the three girls that were presenting the best animated feature, they sort of gave an offhand remark about
yeah,
like how kids love this love this category
Yeah.
or something, but like parents had
like the kids would watch it over and over again.
Yeah, but
and then the parents were basically like,
They know.
you guys
You guys
know,
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
You guys know, like the kids are always playing this on. It's almost like rolling your eyes, like, oh yeah, like parents know, like
Yeah, but to me, I didn't feel like that. The things they said were actually triggered this sort of feeling for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the
me personally,
nominations,
yeah.
then I can kind of see like the nominated films, and it's always like this, right? Like the films that get these nominations are generally kind of like very like childish films,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, as in
Yeah.
it's like targeted towards a younger audience, even though there's broad appeal to them.
Yeah,
And this is like a whole nother topic, right? Where we can talk about like why there's not enough adult, there's not enough, at least there's no one's really shining enough of a light on the adult segment of animated stuff.
yeah.
That's a whole nother topic. But I can see why they said those things during the presentation based on the nominees that were up
Yeah.
for.
Well,
So maybe
take a quick
the
look.
response is
yeah.
maybe the response from Phil Lord has like maybe it's unjustified, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what you're trying to say. Like it's not too
Well,
it
yeah.
doesn't warrant that kind of response.
I think like it felt like he how do you say it? It was a bit sensitive, I think, in this situation,
Yeah.
to sort of assume like what they were, like how they were saying something, how
It
they were
wasn't
saying
it
Like,
definitely
just didn't
wasn't
give me
said
that-
with like any sort of like,
no malice.
Yeah.
No malice. No like it was not their intention. It was just like, yeah. I mean, if I
They
had
probably
if I had
didn't
kids,
come up with the lines, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like
if I had kids, yeah, I probably watched like those animated features of them a lot, and I would just say it. I would just say that,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't mean like I don't like animated features because
Yeah.
of that, like or belittling animated features just by
Yeah.
saying that. I just didn't get that vibe, but I guess some other people did, and
Yeah.
but this is like I guess the list of the nominees, right? So it's Encanto, Luca, Flea, Mitchell's versus the Machines, and Raya. in The Last
Yeah.
Dragon.
So I've seen all of them except for Flea. Like
Yeah,
that
it's-
one, I'm
yeah.
not even sure what that is. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like there's like this like dark horse that always like in
Mhm.
every category there's always like one dark horse.
Yeah.
And part of me is like rooting for the dark horse. So I need to check out what Flea is because
Yeah.
it sounds like it could be interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, when I look at these I guess are predominantly more child. I guess they're more kiddie
Yeah,
sort of films.
they're more targeted towards like younger audience.
Yeah.
Like all of them. Even though there's broad appeal,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
even for adults, you know, so adults can enjoy a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
But I think what Phil Lord's trying to say in, like, maybe he's just using that opportunity to start a discussion, which I think is a very valid discussion.
Yeah.
Now we've been having for so long now, but
Mhm.
it doesn't seem to go anywhere.
Yeah.
As in nothing happens, like nothing changes. The Academy doesn't care, right?
Yeah.
So the discussion is like, why aren't animated features taken more seriously? You know, why isn't there enough light shone upon these more adult oriented animated features, and why aren't they considered like legitimate films in terms of the Academy's, like in terms of the Academy's eyes? Because there's not been one animated feature that's won Best Picture. I don't even know if there's one that's been nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
So,
I think so.
but I feel like there were definitely candidates that were good enough to be nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Yet, never do you ever hear about that. Like, that's not even in the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the fact that we're not even nominated.
Yeah,
like, at
exactly.
all,
And it's like, yeah,
it's not even winning.
it's
just
not,
like
yeah, you're not even
nominated.
close. Like,
Yeah.
it's not even, you know, I feel like if you have an animated feature, you don't even have a chance of winning. You know, you don't
Yeah.
even have a chance of getting nominated, which is crazy to me. Cause,
Yeah, because there's definitely stories and movies that, you know, that stick with, like, at least a lot of people in our generation, even just, right, like, for example, Toy Story, Lion King,
yeah.
all that stuff, surely they would have been, like, nominated, like,
Yeah, I feel
because
like
it's more relatable, and it's, like, you know, it hits adults a certain way, too.
yeah, and I mean the impact that these animated features
Yeah.
had. Like if you think about the history of animation,
Yeah.
like there's films out there that have like huge impact and not just like
Yeah.
people, but like pop culture and whatnot. Like how many references to Lion King do you see in other films, even serious
Yeah.
films, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of like how much do you need to do in order to like convince the Academy that these are real films, like they should be nominated, they should be
Well-
included in the discussion for Best Picture.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, so this is like at first I would think that maybe it's because of relatability. So maybe it's like because it's a cartoon, they don't find it human enough. But if you think about it, right? All films now, even all visual effects films, like for example, all the Avengers and
Like
whatever.
Dune or something like that, right? Like there's
It's all like just realistic animation, right? A lot of it has like realistic animation stuff, and people like still can relate to it, like Avatar.
yeah.
Like, you know, so how come that sort of
That's seen
movie-
differently.
Yeah, that's seen differently compared to like an animated, more childish feature. I mean, I guess it's maybe it is because of
I mean,
they just
sometimes
assume that it is just a childish.
yeah, I think there's
Meaning.
just like this assumption. It's not even. It's just like this. It's almost like, you know, a snobbery
Yeah.
when it comes to, you know, like the film critics.
Yeah,
Maybe specifically at the Academy even.
yeah,
But maybe just like in general in the industry, there needs to be more like discussion about like why these films aren't considered. Because you can say maybe it's not as relatable because there's no real
Yeah.
humans in there, but what's to say that if someone made a VFX feature where it's all robots, and it looks hyper realistic, and there's tons of emotional, I guess like depth in the movie, it's like, how's that not any less relatable than like a cartoon character, you know?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure whether Chappie was
I don't think
No,
Chappie was nominated, but
it was a really good movie.
it was a good movie, and I mean
And
that's
majority of the character is a robot.
yeah,
You know? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and it's a robot emoting.
Yeah.
And I could probably imagine like there'll be films in the future, like more
Yeah.
films like this, especially as AI gets more predominant and the discussion about AI grows.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I feel like, yeah, there's definitely like a snobbery
Yeah.
when it comes to the Academy, and yeah,
I think so. I mean, we would like to hear what other people think, like why this is the reason, because it'd be interesting to know, like what
Yeah, is there,
people's
like- is
thoughts
there-
are in terms. Do they view, like, I guess, like Disney movies like somehow just a tier? Like, people be honest, like, is it just like, do you guys view it as like a tier below?
yeah.
But
I mean,
some of the
yeah,
other
even
films.
like outside of Disney, because
Yeah.
I mean, Disney's the one. It's the obvious one, right? Because
Yeah.
they're churning out so many movies a year.
Yeah.
Then there's DreamWorks and there's
Yeah.
stuff like that. But is Pixar not worthy of being best animated feature? Because I surely feel like there's Pixar films in the past that were, like Up is a great example where I feel like, I mean, you can ask anyone who's seen Up, and the way that it pulls your emotional chords. I mean, that's
Yeah.
like masterful,
Yeah.
in its own right.
Well, I mean, like, even, I mean, I don't think Disney's the best studio anymore, but it has the best name, right? But even if Disney's not getting nominated, I can't even imagine like all the other studios even being considered,
Yeah.
because
But,
at least it
like-
has its like notoriety, right?
Yeah, but where it's kind of like that thing where it's not always the biggest studio that wins, right? It's kind of like the same with this year, how Coda won, and Coda was completely a dark horse that nobody would think was gonna win, right?
Yeah.
But why isn't that the same for like the animation category specifically? So like,
Yeah.
even if, okay, let's just say within the animation category, why is it always the same like 4 or 5 studios that get nominated? Like, surely
yeah.
there's independent films out there that deserve to be nominated, but
Oh, yeah.
but aren't, or maybe it's like they almost like shoehorn it in as like a diversity thing. It's like, hey, look,
Yeah.
and now we got this like dark horse like Flea. I haven't seen
Yeah,
Flea,
yeah,
so
yeah.
but I imagine it's like some dark horse film that's like some indie film.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so that's like, to me, that's like two sort of answers, where. So I think if we're gonna get, okay, if there was, in terms of being nominated as the best film, I do feel like if Disney can't get it, then I can't imagine, like, just even based on notoriety, right?
Yeah.
Because that's like, now you're appealing to the general public, right? So if you can't, like, if even Disney hasn't even been considered,
Yeah,
I doubt like the rest.
yeah,
would
the
even be
rest would.
considered. But
Well, that's the
in terms
thing,
of,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
in terms of
I
the
don't know.
animation category,
I feel like they
There definitely
almost
should
would
be more.
never consider Disney because it's so tailored towards children. So in a way, I feel like there's more chance of an indie film sneaking its way in the best picture than it would be for like
Yeah.
a big studio like Disney.
maybe. But I mean, in terms of like the animation category, there definitely should be more like different companies other than.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
And there's
surprised.
so
even,
few nominees. There's only
Yeah.
5. I mean, when you look at Best Picture, there's more than 5 nominees for Best Picture.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
they could put at least more nominees in the Best Animated Feature Film.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like they should open up the criteria for other indie
Yeah.
stuff to get in,
Yeah.
or at least have like an indie Best Animated Indie Feature.
So
or
at least
something,
people are
right?
looking at it, because
Yeah.
I'm not even sure whether these people are looking at it.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
the
thing,
thing. It's
yeah.
like, I would love to find out about more indie films, and I have limited time. I'm not going to go
Yeah.
out and watch every single animated feature out there.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's some gems out there that exist.
Yeah.
That's like, man, this should have been nominated or should have been in its own category or something. There's, they have like Best Animated Short or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Surely they can have one that's like best, indie animated feature. Or
So maybe what they're doing is basically just like, you have the top few studios. They just, every year they just look through what the top few studios offer, and then, like you said, like the dark horse, they just have to grab something from someone. So maybe
Yeah.
they get someone to watch like a bunch of those indie films, and then they get filtered like to like maybe like the top 3. And then they pick from
and
the
then
top 2.
yeah, exactly.
But really,
I mean,
that's
I didn't
not
even know
really
how the
accurate.
voting.
Yeah.
I don't know how the voting system works. And
Yeah.
it seems kind of odd.
Like, to me, Raya being on this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry for people who worked on Riot. Like it wasn't a good film. Like
I mean, I didn't mind it so much. I
Yeah.
thought it was all right. I mean,
I would
looking
choose
at the
many
because we
things.
did look at the
Yeah.
films. Do we have the?
Yeah.
we should bring up the films of 2021.
I mean, honestly, the
Yeah.
list isn't like super stacked like
Yeah.
it usually, like some other years, like even the Spider-Verse years.
Yeah, so these are the, I guess, the popular 2021 animated movies. And there's,
Yeah.
I mean, granted, there's not a lot of competition, to be honest. I mean, you have
Yeah.
stuff like Sing 2, you've got like, Baby Boss, and
You got,
and whilst I'm sure they're cool films,
I need to watch Vivo.
I mean, Tom and Jerry, I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen that one, but
Yeah,
I'm surprised, like, maybe that didn't get a look.
I heard like that wasn't great, even though I know people who worked on it. It's great. It's a great movie. But I think, yeah, it's just not very like it's not one of those years where it's like packed with, crazy amounts of hot, like super great story
Yeah.
driven animated films.
And I
But-
mean, maybe looking at this
Yeah.
list, like Raya isn't that crazy of a nomination. Like after seeing this, but I'm sure
Yeah.
that this isn't like the list, right? I'm sure this is just the popular one. What
Mhm.
about the unpopular ones, the ones that don't get enough marketing or whatever?
Yeah.
Like surely there's some real good gems out there that maybe
Yeah.
that the Academy with so much power can shine a light on.
Yeah, yeah,
know?
definitely. I mean, to me, like I haven't seen Encanto yet, so I can't, I shouldn't speak too much about it. But to me, I really liked Mitchell's, and I thought that, if anything, from everything I've heard about Encanto, I feel like Mitchell seems to just have an edge over it in
An
terms of
edge.
story and just like animation style as well.
I think Mitchell's definitely like
Yeah.
it has broad appeal as well. Like it was funny, like whether
Yeah.
you're a kid or you're an adult. There was actually a lot of adult jokes in there.
Yeah.
That I was like surprised. I felt like it was more an adult film than it was a kids film.
Yeah. it was
Like
about-
just based on all the jokes, like
Yeah.
some of them were just like really, like you wouldn't understand unless you were an adult. So I was,
yeah.
I was surprised there was that many in
Yeah.
there. But at the same time, like I feel like Luca maybe should have won. I don't know. I like out of
Mhm.
all those films that I have seen, like Luca was my favorite. But
Yeah. Luca was, oh man, Mitchell's was my first, and then Luca was my second. But yeah, Luca actually got me crying in the end.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there was some good stuff in Luca. That
people-
I'm really surprised.
It was
I
very
didn't get.
polarizing of a movie, though, like for some reason.
Yeah,
People
I don't
really
know why.
didn't like it.
What
like, yeah.
Because I hadn't really talked to anyone about Luca other than you.
Yeah.
Like, what's everybody else saying about it?
Actually, a lot about it was about the romantic relationship between the two best friends.
And like, was there something wrong with that? Like,
Well, that's
romantic
the
as in
thing.
like there was
Like people
like
were,
legitimate romance between them.
yeah, people were assuming that they had like they were talking about how it was a gay relationship.
yeah.
But I was like, how did this even get brought up? To me, it just seemed like two.
It just
kids
seemed like an
having,
innocent,
like best friends,
childish relationship.
Yeah,
And whether it was romantic or not, like that's obviously not what the film was trying to make it about, right?
I
So-
know. Like that's the thing. That's so crazy. I didn't even feel that way at all. It just felt like a very close friendship and best friends, where he just, he did everything for his buddy and likewise, right?
Yeah.
And they had like a dream together, but
Yeah,
they-
it seemed like a best
yeah.
friend kind of movie more so than a romantic one. I don't know. That to me, okay.
that's so
I
absurd.
feel like
right?
people are trying to change the narrative of what
Yeah.
the vision of the film was.
Well, okay, so Call Me by My Name was the one with Timothy Chalamet.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Yeah.
So
I
people
gotta watch
related that movie to that, and I was like, this is not even the same.
it. Yeah.
Like,
So you've seen
at all.
the yeah.
yeah.
Well, first of all, one is like definitely much more mature,
Yeah.
and then the other one is like
Yeah.
meant for kids, right? But
It's almost felt like, oh, it was set in Europe, and that's the only thing they had. Like,
that's the only thing it's called.
yeah. And the main character had curly hair like Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah,
That was it.
I actually felt
Yeah.
like it was more a film about like,
Yeah.
it was more like a film of discovery, right? Like a kind of like a coming of age film in a lot of ways, because they're both of that age,
Yeah.
and they were living in a certain way, and it was, to me, the film was about like coming out of their shell almost and finding out who they are, what they
Or
like.
accepting who
Yeah.
they are. Yeah.
Exactly, and then it's also like dealing with the dynamic of like having a family, maybe that, like maybe your ideals have changed as you've grown or whatnot, and it's just a way, you know, to kind of talk about that a little bit, because I'm sure like a lot of younger people would have gone through a similar situation with their family, with their parents, when they start growing up and start liking things that in a certain way and start hanging out with certain friends that maybe
your parents don't
your
like,
parents
yeah.
maybe don't quite agree with, but maybe like, you know, maybe they're not bad people, it's just like their values are different than your family's, and maybe that's
Yeah.
not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That to me was what the film was about.
Exactly.
But for, I don't know, there was no romantic thing going
Yeah.
on for me. I don't know where that
to
came
me,
from, but
yeah, to me it's like a coming of age discovery movie, and it was great for what that is.
yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy how people like somehow like twist and turn it into like some relationship movie.
Yeah.
About like two kids. It's crazy.
But you know,
anyway,
the story
yeah.
itself isn't like the moral of the story is one that's been told like so many times. You know, through so many different, like, you know, Pixar's told that story already with Brave and with like
Yeah.
a bunch of other stuff, I'm sure. But yeah, so maybe they could have told a different story. I don't know if there's anything that Luca told the world that hasn't been told before. You know?
Yeah. But I think it's like, yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, there's not too many stories that are untold, but it's almost like
Yeah.
sometimes the contextual details that
I guess
makes
yeah,
a story
yeah, that makes it
unique, right? It's like the broad strokes are sort of the same, but
yeah.
it's the little
The
contextual
nuances.
stuff.
That's true. I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not bad, you
Yeah.
know, by any means, but
I definitely like. Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely like it. That was But Mitchell's for me, I don't know. It had that like, what's that movie with Michael Cera?
Wait, Michael Cera. I just keep thinking of what's that the one with Jonah Hill.
Super bad.
Yeah, that's the one I keep thinking of.
Yeah. It's because of the movie poster.
Yeah.
It looks exactly like it has that comic-y vibe. But John Cera was in this comic-y sort of. Man, it keeps slipping my mind. But anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I know. The one with the
the-
boyfriends.
Yeah.
Oh man, all these movies are just like,
I know.
yeah,
Just
they're
anyway.
on the tip of our tongue. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like
Too many films in our
terrible.
catalog.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That one should be one that it's something in. Oh man, I can't remember. I had
know.
it for
It's
a
a
second.
long.
Yeah.
It's something and yeah.
Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim. Yes.
That's
yeah,
the
yeah.
I-
Yeah, Scott
yeah,
Pilgrim.
I don't think the internet will forgive us if we
Yeah.
forget that one.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, but you know, obviously, let us know what you think about the animated categories and whether you guys think we should have more categories in the
Yeah.
animated film, animated
like
film
maybe
section.
indie animated category, maybe different categories for like departments.
Best
know?
animated character, like in terms of like sort of best actor kind of thing. But
yeah, like
um,
it could even be like you know, like best, you know, art design for animated features or something, you know, like there's
Yeah.
something you know, and maybe like best animated, you know, best animation, you know, like specifically animation, because
Yeah.
we have costume, but
Yeah.
come on, like animation is like it's an art form
yeah,
as much as costume design is. Come on, like we all
Yeah.
agree about that, right?
yeah,
But yet there's no award for like the animation, the art of animation itself.
yeah.
And yeah, I get so angry when I think about like how much, you know, the Academy kind of disregards the work that goes into making an animated feature. It's like, oh, it's its own thing, you know, like screw them, you know, they
Yeah.
get one category, one like award.
Yeah.
Um,
It actually really reminds me of those feels when Andy Sorkin,
oh yeah.
when he said like, you know, he was it's
Yeah,
because
Andy
of his
Serkis?
acting
Yeah.
that made Planet of the Apes like, or
I think it was
was it Lord of the
I
Rings?
think it was earlier. It was like I think it was Lord of the Rings and Gollum.
Yeah.
I believe.
They
Yeah.
say like how he was the one who made the character and not the animation.
Yeah. I think he's backtracked on what he said.
He better.
Yeah,
That's
because I think the backlash was like it was real.
Yeah.
I think people held the grudge for many years. I think some people still hold the grudge now, but I think he's backtracked on what he said because obviously, you know, he would have caught wind of like how everybody in the industry was just like, no, you can't say that kind of stuff because you basically shat on an entire industry. You know. It's not going to bode well for you, but
you try putting green marks on your face and then, you know, getting that transferred onto like, you know, a model.
Exactly.
But
let us know in the comments like what you guys think, what categories do you guys think should exist if you know, if we did have more categories.
And it would be, I guess, I mean, it would be sort of not inappropriate, but we should talk about the main story as well of, you know, what happened at the Oscars, right? Because it was pretty, it's pretty crazy.
We can't not talk about the Oscars.
Exactly.
We can't talk about the Oscars without talking
about this. Yeah. And everybody knows already.
Yeah, you know what we're going to bring up already.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, Will Smith gave Chris Rock the pimp pen. Like, okay.
He smacked the living daylights out of Chris Rock. And Chris Rock took it like a man.
Champ.
He took it like, he just stood there and he just took it. And
I guess like everybody knows what happened, so we don't need to really go like give a synopsis about it. So I guess what were you doing when you first found out?
Well, my partner, she was like, wow, something went down at the Oscars. And number one, I didn't know the Oscars was on. I knew it was around this time, but you know, I was so busy with my own thing. I'm like, I could not care to watch the Oscars right now. But as soon as I heard that, I was like, I'm watching the Oscars now. So I turned on the Oscars on TV because they were airing it in Australian TV, and apparently Australian TV was the one that was uncensored.
And Japan.
In Japan. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch the Oscars now, right now, because something else could go down. So, I straight away ran to the TV, turned it on, and watched you know, Channel 7, which is what was airing it, and because I specifically wanted to see what happened, like because I knew Will Smith was nominated, but I didn't know he was gonna win, right? So I wanted to see if he was gonna win, and if he does win, like what the response would be. And I had a good feeling he was going to win because I was talking to somebody who went and watched King Richard, and I hadn't watched it even though I worked on it. And he was telling me, he's like, oh, I saw your name in the credits, you know, and then I was like, I haven't seen it, like don't tell me anything, I haven't seen it. But he was telling me how great the acting was. Actually, he was like, it was like acting 101, you know, it's like masterclass. I was like, wow, like Will Smith is back in like his you know, peak acting form. Is like really good. That's why I felt like, okay, maybe he could win the Oscar. So as I was watching, I was like praying. I was like, please, Will Smith win, just so I could hear what he says about the whole situation.
So when you watched it, the situation already happened.
And I already watched all the replays and everything. Like I went straight onto Twitter because I was like, Twitter's blowing up right now. I know it. I just know it.
I thought you meant like Channel 7 did a highlight reel. It's like when it happened.
And then it goes back. Again, slow motion.
It's like those sports highlight reels, like MMA or like UFC.
Unfortunately, it was like, you know, because it's like, it's probably not a sporting event that had like the low frame rate cameras.
But that's pretty crazy because I only heard about it after when you messaged me, and I think that was like after when you messaged me, I immediately checked because I was like, no way, Will Smith. I thought you're like,
I thought Will Smith was chill, like
So I wanted to check up on it and then saw it, and you know, my first reaction was like, this is fake because he was laughing right at the joke. And then suddenly you just see him come up and smack him, and then everything was still like okay. But then when I realized it was real, there's two instances. First, when he sat down and yelled, I was like, oh shit, this is real. Or at least it got me to feel something because I was like, oh man, maybe he's
Yeah.
taken acting really seriously, like again,
Yeah.
and he's very good at acting.
Yeah,
'Cause I was
I'm like, yeah, if this
Yeah.
was staged, it was like
Yeah.
very well done. Like, this is one of the
Yeah.
better staged things.
But then what gave it up for me was Chris Rock's reaction after, because there's no way he's a good actor, right? Yeah. And
Well, apparently he's
awkward.
not bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like he was in he was in a movie recently. I forgot. It was tied to the Soul series.
Okay, but acting okay, so acting angry, like let's say he's very good. Like in general, acting extreme emotions is very like it's easier, right?
Yeah,
Than
yeah.
acting embarrassed and awkward.
Yeah,
and,
that's true. Yeah.
You know, and there's no
He
way
seemed
that
genuinely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely felt like a genuine like.
Yeah.
What the hell just happened kind of thing.
Exactly, and he played it off pretty well, but it was still very awkward.
It was super awkward. I think for
Yeah.
everyone because first of all, I think these are two like somewhat beloved people in just in pop culture, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody loves Chris Rock. Like from everything he's done, like it's such a legacy of being a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody loves Will Smith because of what he's done in the past.
Yeah.
And the fact that like these two people like could end up in a situation like that, it just seems so wrong, right? Like it just seemed like so many things would have had to go wrong for that to have happened.
Yeah.
And it makes you think like something's wrong with the world if these two are
Yeah.
beefing.
Well, I mean, it's like I don't even think, honestly, if I really had to give my opinion, I honestly don't think Chris Rock did anything wrong.
Well, he was making a joke. I mean,
and it wasn't even that crazy of a joke, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, given like
it
in
was
condition, it's not-
insensitive, but at the same time, like that's what I straight away said to you. I was like, Ricky Gervais has said way worse, way more offensive things, right?
Way worse.
Yeah, way worse. Like I'm surprised Ricky Gervais is still alive. Like that's how offensive some of the
Well,
things were.
it's because he did it 5 years early, so his time was like perfect. His
Yeah.
timing was perfect
Yeah.
before. If he did those jokes now, he would have been crucified. Yeah.
But the thing is,
yeah.
I feel like Chris was just doing his bit, right? And like people were saying, yeah, he did that joke at the rehearsal, and it went down fine, and yeah. So I feel like the response definitely wasn't justified.
Yeah, I don't think and you have to take in levels, right? Like it's not like Chris Rock said anything like about her as a person in any demeaning way. It was just like
It was like a roast,
Yeah, it
just
was like a
any,
roast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like anyone would roast anybody on any.
And in that show, he was roasting everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So in terms of levels, I don't think that's the highest level of roast. It's honestly a very plain vanilla, like, oh, he just threw it in there and let's move on kind of thing. But I think Jada took it a certain way, and maybe Will Smith saw that and then reacted as a way to protect his wife. But just, I'm not even really sure that's like
that's
that
the
warrants
right response, like,
exactly
to do that.
And it makes me think like it's actually more of, I think something's going on with Will Smith, as in like I think in his personal life. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah.
But I've watched some of his YouTube stuff like before he released his book, and it seemed like he was going through like a pretty tough time.
Yeah, it seems like this
Yeah.
is the one where he was trying to lose weight and have you seen
And
that
do
YouTube
all those
series?
things. Yeah, that's the series I was watching.
Yeah, so I watched that one as well, and it seemed like there was a lot going on, like with with him in his life, and maybe like I'm sure it's not easy to play like the character of like Richard Williams.
Yeah.
Not the Richard Williams in the most famous animation book of all time, but Richard Williams, the father of Serena and Venus. I'm sure like that would have been a hard character to play emotionally.
Exactly.
Hence why he won the Oscar, because he probably would have had to dig deep to play that character. So I think maybe like looking at it through that lens, I think you would have had to go to some dark places potentially, and maybe that stuff brings something out like out of you that that's something that I would never understand, because I've never acted before, but I feel like I can't act, first of all, because I don't think I could dig that deep. And maybe that's what it takes to win an Oscar. I don't know.
I mean, and his mindset from what I can gather in the YouTube, like in his YouTube series, is the kill or be killed mentality.
Yeah.
And
I think during that series, it was actually post King Richard as well, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Because that's
Yeah.
why he gained that weight.
Oh yeah, for that role.
Yeah, so during that YouTube video series, he was trying to lose all that weight and get back to, you know, the Will Smith that everybody remembers. And
Yeah.
then it was a lot about like putting up masks.
Yeah.
I think the series dealt a lot about like putting on a happy facade and
Yeah.
and you know, maybe pushing away the real issues that so
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe
And-
this was just like a culmination of all those things that he was going through.
Well, yeah, like I said, like he was, you know, he, from what I can gather, he always said that he had this kill or be killed mentality, but that's like, for a balanced lifestyle, that's not what, you know,
Yeah.
what you can, that can get you, like when he was a young buck, it probably got him to where he is, right?
Yeah.
To be that global star, which is great. But then at one point, you do need, I think, to recalibrate, reevaluate, and sort of balance your life out, right? And I
Yeah.
think for him, it just kept on going. From the sounds of it, it's always like, oh, that's the mission, and that's, I have to achieve this mission,
Yeah.
and there's no failure in this.
Yeah.
And you can imagine, like, dude, I'm surprised he even lasted this long without like breaking down. Like, to be honest,
Yeah, I
like,
know, yeah.
that's
He definitely
amazing.
kept it up.
Like, yeah, and he, yeah, and I, you know, it feels like he finally, maybe through this YouTube series, and maybe because of King Richard, he almost like finally had to wrestle with those demons, maybe, and then,
Yeah.
or at least address those issues, and
Yeah.
maybe, you know,
Yeah.
he
that's-
just like, you know, some people just snap sometimes,
Yeah.
you know.
I think Will Smith's allowed to have a human moment. you
Yeah.
know? And then maybe that's something that people don't think about either. It's like
Yeah.
if you always have to be this perfect
Yeah,
image.
he's
you don't-
pretty close.
Yeah.
He's
like,
pretty close.
He's
to
pretty
perfect.
close, man.
Yeah.
He's pretty squeaky.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
everyone's got a dark side, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Like, maybe if I was in his position, I would have snapped way earlier, and
Yeah.
I probably would be smacking up everybody.
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
But I think, you know, if anyone's allowed to have like a human moment, it's him. And you know, I was watching the Jocko Willink podcast about this situation as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I was trying to get different takes on it, because it seems like it seemed like it was such a unimportant thing, right? Like in the grand scheme of
Yeah.
everything going on in the world, but at the same time it felt so important as well, because it was kind of like, you know, I was trying to figure out, like, is it the world, you know, is it something about society, is something about the world, is it just to do with him? So I was trying to get different takes on it to see if there was like a deeper meaning to what just happened, like, you know.
I mean, yeah.
You know, was it like, is it society, or just getting a lot of different perspectives? So I was watching Russell Brand, I was watching Jocko Willink, I was watching like, I was on like Twitter, just reading it, like different perspectives, like pros, cons, everything. And Jocko said, you know, a lot of people are saying it's violence, but you know, if anyone would have seen violence, it's Jocko Willink. You know, he's seen
I mean,
real
it's a
violence.
slap. I don't think it's considered assault.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what I mean. He
Yeah.
was saying like that's not violence.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if two brothers have a scrap at home,
Yeah.
you know, that's not really violent. Like, unless it gets out of hand, right?
Yeah.
And someone gets really hurt. But it was a slap. You know, it wasn't like he didn't like punch him like in the face. So
I think it's more like, because of the stage and because it's a slap, it's more the
humiliation.
than like, yeah, the humiliation than like assault. Because if you think about it, people said it was a punch at first. I didn't see it as a punch.
I don't think it was a punch.
Because
Like,
Chris Rock like kept on going. It felt like he didn't really get hurt by the slap.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't think Will Smith even slapped him really well. Like, you know, it was more like a push.
it definitely felt like, yeah, it was like, yeah, it was on the cheek. It wasn't
Yeah.
like on
Yeah.
the side of the ear or something, or
Yeah,
like
yeah,
on
yeah.
the temple or whatever. But yeah, you know, I understand what people are saying. Like, that's probably not like, that's just like a step away from like true violence. You know, I think if it wasn't a slap and it was a punch, then maybe that's when things are getting violent, because you know, you can knock somebody out punching them.
Yeah.
Maybe you can knock someone out slapping them too, but it's much less likely, right? And I
Yeah.
don't think it caused like true physical harm. It was more like emotional harm, and
Yeah.
probably not the right move.
Well, yeah. I mean, actually, this like sort of leads me to this question, where it's like, what do you think is going to happen now to comedy, right? Because I feel like
that's what a lot of comedians were saying.
Oh, yeah?
They were saying that this sets a bad precedence, because not only did you go up and you attack someone, like even if it's a slap, it was somewhat of like a physical attack. What does that say? When for any other person sitting in the crowd at a comedy show, like
they can just do a Will Smith.
Yeah, they can just do a Will Smith and sit back down, and all's good, right? So I think maybe like removing him would have set a better precedence. I think for how to behave cordially, in a cordial environment, you shouldn't go around slapping people. Like, that's not cool.
But I think once he did it, no matter what anybody does, you can't change it anymore, because now people have in their minds, at least comedians, right? It's like, I can't really go that hard anymore, because then what if
what if someone
just comes up and just decides to slap you? Before, there's like an unspoken thing where it's like you either take it or you leave. At a comedy club, right? Now what? Now do people are they allowed to just, you know what, I don't like that joke, beep you, beep this, and then come up on stage and then just kick your ass? Like, I don't know.
I mean, what was sad too, when I was thinking about that whole situation, is like it kind of it put like a real damper on the whole. He was there representing not just himself, but he was representing, like, in a large part, like he was representing the black community. He was representing the Williams family. He was representing the Richard Williams' story in a lot of ways. He was representing the film crew, the directors, the people who worked on the film and put their heart and soul into it, right? He was like in part representing me, because I worked on the film. And I wanted it to be about the film, not about the slap. But man, it's so juicy as well, the slap. At the same time, like, that the narrative has then changed to, it's not like, oh man, like Will Smith's really got the acting chops. Now everyone instead is talking about like talking about the slap, and I'm
sure he regrets it too, because it's like, it was one of the best moments. It's probably the best moment of his life, and then he sort of messed it up by doing something rash.
Exactly. It kind of he stole away his own moment, and a moment for a lot of other people. And I think that in itself, when I think about it, it's unfortunate, because
I feel bad for the family for sure. And of course you guys who worked on it, but
I mean,
it's the family
just
story,
a little, but if you're the family and you win Best Actor, like this person who's meant to play your dad and did such a good job too, I think it kind of takes away from that that whole thing.
So I mean, it's sad, but hopefully, like, we'll see what Will says, and I hope, like, I hope everything's okay with him. That's it, like, for both parties. Hope, like, Chris Rock's not taking it too hard as well.
I mean, he's Chris Rock. He took it on the chin. So he literally took it on the chin.
Dude, how many jokes are gonna come out of this? Like, I mean, there's so many memes already, which is great. That's why I love the internet, like, because of these funny stuff. But I hope, like, I also hope that no one gets too seriously emotionally damaged.
You know what I think is, like, Chris Rock's next show is gonna do much better than it would have.
than Will Smith's next movie.
That's a good one.
Cool. Well, I guess with that we'll end this week's podcast. Let us know what you think about again, about the animation category and
the
the
Academy
slap,
itself.
if you want.
Maybe the Academy itself. Like, should we even have the Academy? I don't even know anymore.
I don't know anymore. It's pretty biased, to be honest. Like, but anyway, let us know. Comment, like, and subscribe. We're close to 1,000 subscribers, so
almost there.
Oh man, almost there.
Hopefully, by the time this video is live.
Please. We're really punching for it. But cool. We'll see you guys next week. Peace. Thanks for watching or listening to our content. If you like what you saw, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks again. Peace.